Good evening. Tonight's Glitchinthematrix experience showcases that not all glitches have to be bad or unsettling. Sometimes they can even be positive, perhaps even life-saving. Author name: Isolane. Story title: I called my dad in his past about more than 30 years ago. I recently posted about me disappearing into thin air when I was sleeping, and my family couldn't find me. And when I woke up, they swore up and down that they searched all over for me, but weren't able to find me. This isn't an update, but something that just happened yesterday. 3 days ago, I was having conversation with my father, and he was telling me about his university life. Basically, my dad came from nothing. He had a very difficult upbringing, and went to the worst school and high school in our city. When it was time for him to join university, my grandfather passed away, leaving my dad to take care for the rest of the family, as he was the oldest son. He took a wrong major because of the wrong advice of the people around him, and he regrets it to this day. The courses were taught in English, which is a second language for us, and he didn't even know the language. My dad told me that it was the darkest time in his life, and he just wanted to run away, and was even thinking about taking his own life. Now, very recently, he got his master's in English literature, and he was telling me that he didn't think it would ever be possible for him. My dad just recently finished this degree at an age of 55. The next morning, my dad had to drive to this town because his distant relatives live there, and they're struggling financially. My dad is a very kind soul, and he wanted to help them. The town is a 3-hour drive away. He usually takes public transport, but didn't because of the recent crisis. He drove there, and my mom was worried, so we decided we'll keep calling him after every hour to check. Well, I decided to call him. Now, keep in mind, because it's highway, network signals get very weak. He told me to wait and parked at a nearby restaurant. It was like a truck stop. I don't know what came over me, but at that moment I started to cry and went on to tell him about how proud I was of him. I just babbled and kept saying that he shouldn't think he's lacking, because he's not. He's an amazing father and a great person to look up to. You guys, my dad started crying too, and he told me that he'll talk to me when he returns. Well, he returned and he just hugged me, and he was telling me about how 30 years ago he was visiting the same town, and it was a time when he was at his lowest. He was visiting the same relatives, and he was in a bus which stopped at a petrol station. He called his mother, and when he picked up the phone, without even dialing, he heard my voice. It was me telling him the exact same thing which I just said yesterday. He said that he didn't even call my grandmother. He just stood there and cried. I gave him strength to keep fighting. He said he just now realized it was me whose voice he heard all those years ago. My parents are now taking this as a sign from God, who helped my dad when he thought no one else was there for him. Personal thoughts. This is a touching story. To Isolane, your family seems very connected, very sweet and loving. And it's clear that you really love your dad. It's touching, it really is. And how this happened, that your dad received a call that told him exactly what he needed to hear to press on in the hardest time of his life. And that somehow, it was your own voice saying the same thing that you just told your dad yesterday. Wow. Perhaps it was divine force, or perhaps it was just a glitch in the matrix. Either way, I'm really glad it happened.